Wheel has been terminated.
Yeah, million on my mind, I need to make that in a month. Pour that 1942 with lime inside my cup. I might lose my feelings, but I'm never out of touch. Yeah, run me all that money on the back and out front. Yeah, look, I am my back on the wall. I had to get up and really go get it, I couldn't be slacking at all. They come at me wrong and I pull out a scene and I'm watching them splatter the walls. I bet a money tree right off an iPhone, awaiting the apple to fall. I go test my own limits, y'all not my business. Hop in, that's record time, I feel like I'm Guinness. Pop up, my eyes shine, I know they gon' mimic. Don't wait for no right time, I get up and I get it. I got heart, I got drive, I got options. Start it up, I adjust, ain't no stopping. On key, turn a knob, bitch, I'm locked in. Clean sweep, when I'm up, bring the mop in. Yeah, tats all on my face, I keep the tints. Ink all on my body, but I never sign for shit. I be on the jet and then I Uber to the Ritz. Yeah, the lights gon' hit my diamonds every time I raise my fist.
Such a large bounty for such a small package.
Reminding us of the previous episode where Werner Herzog broke into gigolo jokes for no apparent reason. Also, there's no reason why a previously on bit needs to be over a minute long. This is a TV show, not a Lord of the Rings movie. The previously on before the Two Towers didn't even last. There was none, because previously ons are a dumbing down of storytelling comprehension skills, you bastards.
For you, of all people, to complain about a story being dumbed down is remarkably hypocritical. Also, Discount Jeremy hates previously on segments cliche. Also, Discount Jeremy makes a pop culture reference that isn't a sin of the episode cliche.
Not having a proper car seat. Sorry, Razor Crest seat.
Skip.
Friend, if you're receiving this transmission, that means you are alive. You might be surprised to hear this, but I am alive too.
Look, Grief, most of this could be gleaned from the context of your message. I misplaced a college friend one time after a wild night of too much Scrabble, but their text in the morning asking if I wanted to get breakfast was more than enough to establish that they were alive and thought that I was alive as well.
You kill him, and we both get what we want.
Oh, cool, you're alive. Sorry about trying to kill you the other day. Hey, can you do me a favor?
Discount Jeremy points things out on the screen cliche.
If that fire rope thing connecting them doesn't burn or do anything besides function as a rope, why wouldn't you just use a rope? Save your poor special effects intern from having to edit this pointless thing into the scene through multiple cuts.
Everything wrong with The Mandalorian, ladies and gentlemen. A character uses a fancy rope. You know, because we're all well aware that using a normal rope would have made this episode so much better, right? Right? Guys? Fellas? Bueller?
Mud scuffers!
Mud scuffers.
I'm gonna stop you right there before you launch into your mercifully short but still stupid and boring discussion of why the word mud scuffers is apparently a sin. It's not a sin. Deal with it.
It'll never be safe until the imp is dead.
Shortening Imperial to Imp, which is a mythical creature and would change the Star Wars universe in a way fans wouldn't be happy with. Ha, who are we kidding? Star Wars fans are never happy.
You're right about that, of course, but I don't know why you think it's a sin for Mando to say imp. I mean, the fact that he's using that word to refer to Imperial forces clearly indicates that the concept of the imp from our world either doesn't exist in the Star Wars universe or might be just different.
See, this is what happens when you leave a child unattended in another room. It's either they take over your ship's steering console or they make soup in the toilet by pouring in all the spices in the cabinet and then take turns drinking it. They do that sometimes, I've heard.
So what was the point of that sin? He just said that you shouldn't leave kids alone and expected it to magically be a sin, but he never explained why that's a flaw of the episode. I mean, Mando clearly isn't a perfect parent, so it doesn't make much sense for you to sin him for making mistakes like this. And I'm sure there's a CinemaSins fanboy out there thinking, that sin wasn't meant to be taken seriously, it was just a joke. And I'm gonna say that if a sin is meant as a joke, it should actually be funny.
You got anyone you can trust?
The uncanny probability that the person he trusts will be on a desert planet.
Discount Jeremy sins desert planets ex machina.
Would anyone care for some tea?
Disney Plus refuses to give us a spin-off based around Taika Waititi-droid.
I know this was probably meant as a joke, so I'm sinning it both for not being funny and for being stupid. 2 for 1 on the sins, people. We're running a 2 for 1 special over here.
Not anymore.
He couldn't have let him know that he had a bounty hunter droid before it strolled into the room getting their tea order?
I mean, he could have, but why? Do you really think that would have made this episode better? If they walked into his house and he immediately said, "Hey guys, by the way, I've got an IG series bounty hunter droid that I've reprogrammed." Pretty cool, right? Seriously, you think that would have been better? The next 3 sins consist of Discount Jeremy bitching about grammar in a very boring mini rant, and then 2 throwaway sins designed to simply extend this video's runtime. That shit is worth a solid 10 sins.
It had to learn everything from scratch. This is something that cannot be taught with the twist of a spanner.
Maybe not a spanner, but certainly with a software update. And I'm sure this Robo Karate Kid scenario will be important to the plot at some point. But considering the other shit they've got going on right now, I don't know why Queel thinks Mando and Kara have time for this.
This is yet another example of Discount Jeremy ignoring characterization. Kara and Mando may not have a whole lot of time, but this fits Queel's character, so it's not a sin. Also, unfunny software update joke is unfunny. Also, Discount Jeremy makes a Karate Kid reference that isn't a sin of the episode cliche.
Taking a drink that was clearly offered to Mando instead of waiting patiently for your own cup. Manners matter, Cara Dune. In fact, here's another 2 sins for poor table manners. My teacher in finishing school didn't teabag shame me in front of the entire class for you to trigger me like this.
I can pay you handsomely, Ugnaught.
Referring to the man who helped you get your stolen parts back, rebuild your spaceship from scratch, and gave you T as his species name.
Pointing things out on the screen.
And we'll be free until the old ways are gone forever.
And yet the sequel trilogy tells us the old ways don't disappear. Somehow, they returned.
And that's a sin of the sequel trilogy, not this show. Besides, what sequel trilogy? That doesn't exist. There's no such thing as a Star Wars sequel trilogy, at least not in true canon.
While Queel sits down on the ship to do bong rips, I have to wonder how much more interesting it would have been to get a glimpse into his past instead of clips where he's teaching a robot to walk and make tea.
Hold on, people. Did you hear that? Discount Jeremy just said that the episode would have been better if we explored Queel's past instead of advancing the story. What the hell?
Casual attempted murder.
Casual pointing things out on the screen. Or, in other words, casual murder of your YouTube channel that used to be good.
What? When you work for the Empire?
This tension between Kara and Queel gets written into the scene as if they didn't have a cordial tea party before and as if he was the one choking her. Grogu is the one being an ass here. Let's not forget that.
Yup, and Baby Yoda is a baby, so Kara is taking out her frustration on someone else rather than the child. What's your problem with that? It makes sense in context and it doesn't take anything away from the story.
Making me watch other people watch this ship land.
Making me watch you pointing things out on the screen.
It appears that introductions are in order. It seems we've both provided a security detail.
Did the writers run out of dialogue for this scene and decide that Grief verbalizing his observations was a good substitute?
Says the guy who spends 80% of his YouTube videos narrating what's happening because his fanbase is too stupid to understand it without the narration?
There's meeting outside of town to avoid alerting the Imperial troops, and then there's meeting so far out of town that it requires a camping trip. And while I hate camping as much as everyone else, the real issue is that nothing has been established to make the long night of Stand By Me portion of the episode feel necessary.
Discount Jeremy makes 2 pop culture references that aren't sins of the episode cliche. Also, he admits that they're doing this to avoid the troops, but still doesn't really understand it. I mean, if they had camped out closer to the city, the troops would have been able to see them a lot easier and they would be at far more risk. What's so hard to understand about that?
Nothing can go wrong.
And now we have some sort of pterodactyl dragon situation putting us somewhere between Jurassic World and Pitch Black. Why is this contrived scene trying to be all of the things?
Another 2 pop culture references. Man, this video is basically writing itself. Why do all the Sins writers suck at their jobs? They used to be good. What happened?
This little guy truly does not care that he's about to be eaten by a space dragon.
Discount Jeremy points things out on the screen cliche.
The poison's spreading fast.
Those things were poisonous too? This scene has more random tension than the time I saw my friend John start a fight with a car seat and lose.
Unfunny joke is unfunny.
There's that mysterious force healing ability again. And once more, Force Ghost Qui-Gon looks on before walking away muttering, "That is such bullshit."
Just because a force ability exists doesn't mean that every single force user can use it. Aaron's way of thinking here is very childish and stupid. Grogu simply has a naturally stronger connection to the living force than Qui-Gon ever did, which is why he can do this, but Qui-Gon could not.
I need your eyes.
Don't take her eyes. She needs those to see and protect you. Unless you think she can be Donnie Yen. Listen, Mando, I saw Donnie Yen. I had my mind blown by Donnie Yen, and she is no Donnie Yen.
Ha ha ha, he said Donnie Yen. That means he funny. We laugh because he made reference. Ha ha ha. That's how I imagine the typical CinemaSins fan reacts to this kind of thing.
There's something you should know.
That's just one step removed from a "you better come take a look at this" cliche, and we'll let Cindy decide if that's far enough to avoid a sin.
I mean, even if he had said, you better come take a look at this word for word, it still wouldn't have been a cliche or a sin, so...
Also, let's talk about how useless that armor was. He got shot once in the upper left corner and died instantly. Who made this armor? Was it the same designer that makes useless stormtrooper armor? Is there a guild of armor makers in this galaxy far, far away that consistently releases inferior products?
That guy got shot at close range, and the blaster bolt looks like it hit a less heavily protected part of his body, which is why his armor couldn't withstand the shot.
Nothing on this planet will breach those doors.
Hold on there, partner. Nothing on the planet will breach those doors? Jawas were able to tear your ship apart in just one day in a previous episode. We've seen how flimsy the Razor Crest is, so maybe think before you go around jinxing the ship's hull integrity. That's how you get an iceberg to sink your ship.
Of course, you cut out the part of this scene where Mando tells Queel to engage ground security protocols, which were not engaged when the Jawas ransacked the ship. Seeing as there's most likely no heavy artillery in this planet, Mando was probably correct in saying that nothing on the planet can breach the doors.
Arm wrapping, gratuitous blaster close-ups, looking deep into the eyes of a baby. Excitement?
Everything wrong with the reckoning, ladies and gentlemen. The episode spends a minute showing us the characters preparing for their mission.
20 credits for the helmet.
I don't know what the exact exchange rate is for Beskar, but this asshole trying to grift out on the edge of the Republic sucks way more than I would expect at grifting.
So it's a flaw of the episode that a stormtrooper is bad at grifting? That's dumb.
The Empire improves every system it touches.
Camino and Alderaan have entered the chat.
I hate to do this to you since I typically don't point out these kinds of mistakes, but you spelled Camino wrong. Honestly, CinemaSins and TVSins have a ton of errors in their captions, and I don't typically sin them, but I wanted to this time because misspelling something that you could have taken 5 seconds to look up shows their complete lack of effort that they put into this awful video.
And they brought the child.
Yes, I have. Currently, it is sleeping.
You may want to check again.
Moff the Boss buries the lead before burying this blaster beam in the client as a dramatic show of Imperial force, instead of saying, yeah man, hate to bum you out, but they don't have the kid. You probably should try to kill them. Just saying, if we briefly suspend our disbelief in their plot armor, there is some chance the client succeeds in killing them, and Moff's job is that much easier.
How is this dialogue unrealistic or ridiculous like you somehow think it is? He was just suggesting a double check, but then you randomly start this boring rant that doesn't really have a solid leg to stand on.
Are you there? Do you copy? Yes!
Mando f***s over Queel so hard right here by doing this over unsecured comms that I'm willing to simply sin him for being a dick.
This is a classic TVSins trope, sinning a show for a character making a mistake. Mando screwed up by using unsecured comms, sure, but that's not a sin of the episode. Just because he's really good at bounty hunting doesn't mean he's perfect in every single situation ever.
Back to the ship and bail. Get the kid out of here. We're pinned down.
Wait, are we supposed to believe Queel was dumb enough to give Mando a communicator set to the same frequency as the stormtroopers were using? Because that seems like a pretty big oversight.
Jesus Christ, you just mentioned how they're using unsecured comms. They didn't know that the stormtroopers were monitoring for frequencies and would pick theirs up. Use what minuscule amount of brain power is available to you, please.
Even if the stormtroopers intercepted the radio transmission, how do they know where Mando's ship is? Is it because the writers told them? It is, isn't it? Well, guess what our writers told Cinny to do?
They don't know where the ship is. They know where Queel is because they tracked his signal. So they're going to that general area in order to scout around and intercept him. It's really not that hard to understand.
I love when they let the ships and other elements in the world shine so we can see all the tech and take in all the hard work that went into the creation and depiction of these works of art. But this episode has done it so much that they've ended up developing the spacecraft and blurgs more than the characters.
Discount Jeremy sins something he likes cliche. Also, don't lie to us, Aaron. You don't understand or appreciate great character development when it does happen, so you haven't earned the right to be saying stuff like this.
Worst Jack in the Box ever.
Worst attempt at a comedy channel ever.
These stormtroopers all stand here with their weapons aimed like most of them aren't going to shoot one of their buddies in the back of the head.
I know it's a meme at this point to make fun of the incompetence of the Imperial Army, but in reality, stormtroopers are supposed to be highly trained and skilled units. So far, this episode hasn't really gone against that, and this joke also wasn't even all that funny.
Queel, are you there? Do you copy?
Not having the guts to show such a heart-wrenching death on screen. Queel deserved better. I have spoken.
You know what? That was the first good sin in this entire video. Damn, I'm tempted to remove a sin, but at the same time, it took him 9 minutes, up until the very last sin of the entire video, to say one logical thing. That's just embarrassing. The Sins writers should honestly be ashamed.